about it, I wanted to show you this. For years and years and years, people were telling me to just spray WD-40 up in that hole and it'll get to that bolt. And this is the cab mount bolt for the main frame for the cab, that if you just take WD-40 and spray it up in that hole, it'll lubricate that and make it easier to take apart. Well, I've been spraying this cab for over a year, about once a month for over a year, through that hole using a WD-40 can like this and just pushing it up in the hole and just pushing it up in the hole like that and just spraying. Well, guess what I've been spraying? The backside of that bar. No, the only way to really get to this is to get up in between. There's little notches on the bracket itself to try to somehow get it forced up in between like that. Try to get it to actual bolt. Now, what I'm actually going to do on the other side is I'm going to find this pocket and I'm going to drill a hole. And I'm going to use that hole to spray the WD-40 into. And we're going to change these cab mounts while we're here doing this job. But just to let you know, those access holes have a plate in the way. Now, when I took this all apart, took this out, there was just an inch of rust in there. I vacuumed it out, and I have WD-40 it a couple times since I was here, and I have a special little attachment on my drill that I use for big nuts and bolts like that, and I basically just cleaned the threads completely out. The newer stuff, the OBS stuff and the 2000 stuff, I've seen a lot of guys use those bolt heaters and stuff like that because they do come with Loctite on them from the factory. Now, but that bolt is 50 years old. Been sitting in the same position for 50 years. I can guarantee you it's going to be hard to get loose. And I can guarantee you there's a pretty good chance you're probably going to pop that. There's going to be enough torque involved to pop that bolt out of its way, bend stuff up, break stuff. So what's your choices? An impact, which you know is going to do damage. Your best bet to protect it is a cheetah bar and a big, and just go slow. What we're going to do is we're going to break it loose, move it about 2 turns, spray it, screw it back in, spray it again, take it back out 3 or 4 turns, put it back in, and just basically working it out while lubricating it as we're working it out, which does 2 things. It saves the bolt, saves the carriage nut, and just makes it where nothing breaks off. Because if you break that off, if you break the head off of that thing with an impact, you're fooked. Completely fooked. All right. And so, like I said, the easiest way to do this is just get on your ass with a cheater bar and just slowly work it. Because the last thing you want to do is put the impact to this and just blow it off. But since I've cleaned it and I had access to it, this one turned off pretty good, pretty easily. But I still had to use the cheater bar to get the brake loose. Oh, that one's actually in pretty good shape. So maybe there is hope for the other side. But we're going to go ahead and I'm going to find the pocket on the other side. I'm still going to drill a hole. I'm still going to lubricate, do the same thing on the other side. So the next to the process is we're basically going to just take jack up against this brace real close to the pocket. We're just going to basically lift it up, pull it out, replace it with the new stuff, put it back in, bolt it back up. But that's what it looks like after the fact. So let me just put that in there for time being so we don't lose it. Let's get the jack and let's change her out. Jack don't reach. So what do? I just took a 1x6 and I cut it up into 5.5-inch squares and just stacked it on top. And this is an easy way to do it. As long as you're not getting up underneath it. I can do this from the outside and work in. I don't have to get underneath the truck. That is not safe, but it will do the job when you need it to. And all we're doing is lifting that up, not that far. There we go. And most of the time it's just a matter of just breaking it loose. And it's going to be pretty crumbly anyways. So bring it out this side. Pretty much all there is to it. Yep, she's on there. Now this is, as you can tell, this is a 50-year-old piece. And we're just breaking the crust because it just kind of welds itself. I don't know, sticks itself to, welds itself to, but we're just breaking it loose from the rubber piece. And you can tell, see, that's just it. That's just it. Just corroding over the years. Now the great thing about the energy suspension kit, and there'll be a link down below for this, is it comes with new hardware, which means new washers, top and bottom, new bushings, and all four of the rear cab mount bushings are the same. Now the ones for the radiator support, they're a little bit different, and it's in the instructions. And then you got the rubber pieces for the mounts, and you just reuse the bolt you already have. So I mean, they are just basically as good as plug and play as they come, and they replace all of this business with brand new anti-corrosion coated pieces. Beautiful. And the easiest thing to do is just press the collars in ahead of time. That one's going to be a little, need to, you can give it a little bit of a massage for it to finish going in like it's supposed to all the way. Sometimes they're a little tough, but you know, they're all seated where they're supposed to be. Okay, all flush. They're all flush. So easiest thing to do is just put them in beforehand, and this basically just goes in the pocket, and then you bolt it up from the backside. We're just sliding this piece in here, in between, just like this. Boom. I mean, it just slides in between. It's right here. And then this one goes here on top, just like that. Okay. Then you just let her down. Nice and easy. And she'll go back in place. Or leave just enough tension off of it to look in from the other side and line up your washer. Just like that. While you got it loose and the tension off of it, you just slide up in here and you start the bolt. Then you can let your pressure off. All right. And then I still don't recommend an impact. I say what you use is you use your ratchet. It's the same procedure for all four. Now I will say that everything you do now, because we've changed a whole bunch of stuff out on this truck. Headers, new transmission, bolt, cross member, all kinds of stuff. We've changed all kinds of things out on this truck. Once I drive this for 50 miles, we're going to bring in the shop and we're going to have to retighten everything, including these body mounts. Anytime you have anything like this off, paint it, clean it, take care of it, because once you've done it, you really don't want to do it again, do you? Okay, so the bottom ones are pretty much the same procedure. You have your main bolt, you have a washer, a rubber, and a rubber up here, and another washer in between the body frame piece. I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of light, but that main frame piece right there. And it's the same procedure. You're just going to jack it up just enough to get this out. Jack it up just enough to get that out and put the new one in. And it's just the same procedure as before. And we're going to WD-40 this bolts come in. This one actually, I think, with that excess hole right here, did its job, because that one broke loose really easily. So I'm going to assume that I'm going to have to drill a hole in the one in the upper cab to get that one right. But so let's get this one out, and once I basically it's already finger loose. Yep, and so you can hear it here. That's that carriage nut that's in there, and I can tell you right now, it's in there loose. You can hear it. It's in there moving around. So you're gonna have to be careful not to jostle this around too much, because I'm not quite sure it's really in place as well as it could be, but it's enough to be able to tighten it and loosen it. So let's be careful and be easy with this. And again, same thing. It has the rusted in between hardware, which we aren't going to have to reuse, but it has the basically what I call a mushroom. It's all one piece from up in there all the way down to here, and you just got to make enough space on this cab to get that out. Okay, I had to do a little improvising, because this mount up here is a lot taller than the ones over there. So I had to take a piece of wood, and I know you guys are screaming, this is not the safest thing in the world to do. And it's not, but this truck is sitting on the ground on all fours. So all I'm lifting is this corner of the cab. Nothing else. The bed, everything else is staying on the frame. So if this slides or this pops, the chances of this getting me are almost zil. So just, if you want to comment. If not, I love you. And that's basically how you do it on that side. She's down, she's flat again. Now they're gonna pop and crack because you're moving things around that hasn't been moved in a long time, but it will center itself up now. There's a purpose for this hole and that hole, and that's basically when they put these together on the assembly line. Those are the lineup holes. There's one here on this side too, and it lines up with that hole. Okay, and so basically, it was just for the guys to take a bar and move around and get it where it's supposed to be, lined up on the body, on the frame. So if you need to, because there's a pretty good chance if it's ever been in a tweak or a wreck or anything, there might be some tension in that body. So if it pops and it moves, you might have to use a cheater bar or a big screwdriver or something to get it pulled back in place so you can get the bolts started. All right, and just make sure, just feel up here and look and make sure that this rubber is mounted flat on that brace. Then after that, you're just tightening it up, and basically Energy Suspension says tighten those until it bottoms up on that brass shim, on that bolt shim. So you just tighten them down until it stops. And it's pretty easy. I mean, that sleeve is pretty long, and so you don't have to worry about breaking anything. All right, so let's tighten that one up. And since we already got this one loosened, then we'll jack this one up and change this one up. Okay, and they're tightened down exactly like it says in the instructions. They're tightened down until they stop. Okay, and that's how much squish there is on the rubber, but this is not that hard of a job. So what we have to do is deal with the last one, the one in the front on the driver's side. That one's still encased. So we're going to take cheater bar, pop it, and see what happens. So the bolt that's encapsulated in that pocket is not given. So what do we got to do? We got to find the spot welds. Okay. So I'll take a paint marker and I'm going to mark my spot welds where I know they are. And that's going to be, I'm just going to reach underneath here and feel. And yeah, so that's going to be a spot weld. So we have a spot weld right here. And then we have a spot weld right here. And then we have a spot weld right here. This basically is our line for the brace that way. And then just by feel, this is the spot weld. This is the brace line here. And then we'll have the other brace line right about here. So I'm going to say this is a pretty good section. That's a pretty good section to make my drill, to drill my hole, to get my lubricant in there. And I'm not going to make a big hole. I'm just going to make enough to get that spout in there. And so let's see if I guesstimated this right. Okay, I was a little bit off, but there is your dimensions. 11.5 by 2.5 from the bend of the floorboard there. That is your bullseye. I drilled a hole, 3/16 hole. I took my WD-40 and I doused it in there, and it was dead on, and I doused it and filled it. I let it sit for 3 hours. Still didn't want to budge. So I doused it again, gave it another 3 hours, and it finally gave. It's midnight, and I'm tired, but she's out, and I went nice and slow. I felt it start to bind, so I threaded it back in a little bit, sprayed a little bit more. I worked it out, felt it bind again, worked it back in, sprayed a little bit more, worked it back out, and I finally got it out, and I saved the bolt. And the bushings went back in. I did the same on this side as I did on that side, and that's it. So it can be done, but that is your number. 11.5 inches from that edge and 2.5 inches from the bend in the floorboard. That's your bullseye. Use it wisely. All right, there you go. I'll change out all 4 cab mounts. Now you guys know how to do the radiator ones. You do that when you have it apart. But this is an energy suspension, part number 341010. Everything was there, including instructions. And the instructions show you A, B, and C, 1, 2, and 3, and what goes where, with a complete list on the bottom of which pieces go where. It was not that hard. The hardest part was getting a hold of that carriage bolt and that sealed up part. That old, where you could spray in through that hole, that doesn't work. But if you're still here, like, share, and subscribe. Smash that like button. Check out the links down below. There will be links to this part. Y'all have a great day. It was a great day today. It'll be replaced body mounts in the morning. Y'all be good.